Okay, everybody, another quick episode of Ronnie's Garage. Um, my Shovelhead, I've been working on it for a while, trying to get it running good, and I finally fixed the problem where it was cutting off. I believe I told you I put a 15 amp breaker where it should have been a 30 between the battery and uh, the battery and ignition switch. So that 15 amp was just getting too hot. It would pop, stop the bite. Once it cooled off, I could get going again, and it was embarrassing. It took me so long to figure that one out. So I've been riding the piss out of it. And then about a week or two ago, I decided to take I had robbed the coil off of my FXR here. And then there's another bite at my father-in-law's house in the garage I took the ignition off of. So I decided to take that ignition, put it back on that bite, and put the coil back on the FXR here. This bike, man, I love this puppy. It sounds great. It's fun to ride. Of course, right now, these are the shocks that actually go on the Shovelhead. And if you can see right there, they're not even mounted correctly. I just did that to be able to roll the bike around. So I'm not riding it. I took the shocks off this one to put on the Shovelhead because I was trying to lower it down. I really did not like the look with the stock shocks. It just sat too high. Yeah, I mean, the fender and the rear tire made it look so high, it made it look like a dirt bike. So I took the shocks off, put them on the Shovelhead, and it rides great. I like it. Of course, now my drag pipe on the right side, the lower one, the front cylinder, will drag the ground when I make a turn too hard, or if I'm turning at speed and the bike starts, settling, it'll drag a little bit, but I can live with that. I like the looks of it. But this one, this FXR, this is my first Harley Davidson. I had plenty of metrics back years ago when I was in the Air Force, and then one back in the early 2000s for a short time. And then I don't know why I waited so long to get my first Harley, but I did, and here it is. But I just put it up here on the lift because I wasn't gonna put the coil back on it. I'm gonna put the Shovelhead back up here. I just put the new ignition on it, and I'll show you that in a minute. And took it for a little test, about 25-mile test ride, and it runs great. But this one, I just wanted to crank it up real quick and let you hear it, because this one I really like. All right, so let me see if I can set this down somewhere where you can see most of the bite. All right, let's see. My key. Got gas on. Key. And let's crank it. So I really like that one. Now, that one sounds really good. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take this bike off the lift and put the Shovelhead back up here, and then I'll show y'all what I did with my new ignition. I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. I put the FXR down on the ground, and I put the Shovelhead back up on the lift. And what I did was I bought a new from Dynatech, the Dyna S. The Dyna S It's a DSK6-2. This is the single fire ignition that comes with coils. So first thing I had to do was switch out the inside. The other ignition I had was single fire, but it was the type that used the cup. This one is an electronic ignition, but it still utilizes the mechanical weights behind the plate. So I took the cup off. If you, it came with a new hub here, but the actual weights behind the plate, it didn't come with. So I just happened to have mine. If you get something like this, you have to buy the mechanical weights. But you take the cup off, put the mechanical weights on, the new hub here, and the bolt, tighten it down. And you want to make sure that hub is rotated correctly. I got a mess over here. I have the old hub that came off the other ignition, but if you notice one side is rounded and another side has a flat spot on it. And where that goes into the mechanical weights, there's a small roll pin. And if you have this hub on backwards, you've got the flat to the wrong side, you'll push that pin through, that roll pin through, and then the mechanical weights won't fit on the end of the shaft correctly. So you got to make sure you rotate the hub. This piece right here is here. Make sure you rotate it to that flat side right there. Lines up with the same side as the roll pin, and that's what this clearance for here is, for that roll pin. So I put that in and just loosely mounted it, and then I ran the wire down through the hole in the nose cone, and I got it zip tied right down there. If you can see, let me see if I can zoom in there, right there. I got it zip tied there, and then it comes down, and then you can see it coming up right there, that gray wire. And then I brought it up through here. This is behind where the old coil mounted. And then it and the power wire, I had to make my power wire longer because the old power wire just went right down here. But they both come up here through the tanks, and then they come out right down here, and I have heat shrink on the wires, both the power and the ignition power wires and distributor wires for your coils. So this is a hatchet job wiring. I had to come up with a way to mount these because the old coil, hang on just a second. I gotta get a very important part of my day here. So let's see. The old coil just mounted here, and it was the original coil had two lugs, one on top and bottom, and then your two plug wires came out rear to the front. Well, this ignition system utilizes two man, I'm not in focus there. Here we go. Maybe I'm too close. It utilizes two individual coils, one for each cylinder. So I had to fab something up. So what I did is I went up to the Ace Hardware and got 1 1/4 inch wide, 1/8 inch thick flat stock. These two pieces are about 4 inches long with a 1 inch turn down right here. And then I drilled holes for the mounting bolts here. And then for stability, I made another bracket to attach the two bottom points just to give it a little rigidity. And it's pretty tight. It doesn't move, so I'm not worried about it. Looks a little hokey, but it's only stupid if it doesn't work. So I put it all back together, fired it up. I went ahead and put fresh plugs in it. This motor is in dire need of being rebuilt. It doesn't smoke or anything, but I'm leaking oil real bad, and I think that I've got 100 psi of compression in each cylinder, and that's decent. I'm not sure. I should have done that. I've been wanting to do, I got 10.5 1 compression on the FXR, and I've been wanting to throw it up here and put my compression gauge on it, see what it is, and I haven't done that yet. Now my wife's Sportster right here, when we first bought it, I was having a hard time getting this started, and when I checked it, it had 150 each cylinder, so I knew there was nothing wrong with the compression. And Sportsters usually have higher compression than big twins anyway. But and then I should just check the Road King too, just for shits and giggles to see what it is. But this one has 100 psi. The Shovelhead has 100 psi per cylinder, so that's decent. So I knew I was okay to just ride it as is without worrying about it, rebuilding it right now. I mean, I don't have the money to do that anyway. It's going to be, I'm guessing, between $3,000 and $4,000 for the motor, and maybe about $1,000 for the transmission. And then I'm gonna take the primary off and put a belt drive. And I found out that BDL is the same belt drive I have over there on the right there on the FXR. They make a unit like that one has a motor plate. So there's a plate that goes between your transmission and your engine to keep things lined up, and then you put the pulleys on and the belt. Well, back when this thing was on the road, brand new, and guys were running open belts, they didn't have motor plates. So you had a pulley in the front, you had a pulley in the rear, and a belt between. You had to make sure the motor and transmission were all lined up. So I'll still have to do that. I'll still have to make sure everything's lined up. But BDL makes one that there's a ring mount over your transmission that actually has a place here for a late model starter, where the starter would be in line with the transmission versus like your coil is on here, or excuse me, the solenoid is here, and your starter is over there. The late model starters have the solenoid on top of the starter back here. So I'm going to put that on there, so I'll have the convenience of the electric start, which this came with from the factory, but it'll have the look with no motor plate of just the 2 pulleys and a belt. So you're looking at $3,500 to $4,000 for the motor, another $1,000 or so for the transmission. Probably I'll buy the BDL unit without the starter, because the starter they supply, I don't know who makes it, but when you look at the price without the starter, it's like over $400. And you can use any, I want to say it's 06 and up starter, and you can find a decent one out there for $300. So by the time I buy the belt drive and the starter and all, that's probably not going to be close to $2,000. So I'm looking at what, $7,000. I'm guessing minimum for to rebuild the motor, transmission, and the belt drive. And I've got a new kickstand coming. I've got the mount, the spring, and the stop. I've got those over there on my cabinet, on my workbench. But I found out like a week and a half after I ordered this stuff that J&P said they had it in stock. They didn't. And then it kind of ticked me off, because when I called him up to ask him about it, he's like, "Oh man, that's my bad. We're at zero balance." He said, "I'll just give you money back." And I didn't even think of it till later when I went back on J&P site and found I want a 1-inch extended. The bike sits over way low, and I don't even know if this is stock. So I'm going to get a 1-inch extended swing arm to stand it up a little bit more when I park. But I found another one, Drag Specialties V20, I don't know who it was, and they gave me a $10 credit on my account with J&P, and then they refunded me the money. So with the $10 credit, the new kickstand is like $30, and it was like 50 something before. So I mean, it actually worked in my favor. But the new stand won't be here till Monday. So I was hoping to get this thing done. I mean, I can ride it now. I just went for a 25-mile run. I mean, this kickstand works. I just want to put the other one up. So since I need to have it up here anyway, make it a lot easier at 58, this is my new best friend when I bought it. I get the bike in the air and work on it. But I will change it all out, change the kickstand out while it's up here. I don't have anything to do to the other bikes anyway. I've just had the FXR up here to change the coil out. But I don't have anything to do except this one anyway, so I'll leave it up here until I do it. But what I was talking about with the new ignition is that now it runs 2 coils, and the little brackets I made, top and the connector at the bottom, good and sturdy. I didn't even think about it when I was putting it on, but now that they're mounted, you have 2 plugs the same length, whereas when your coil was mounted over here, you had one short plug wire, and then you had a long plug wire to the front, short to the rear, long to the front. And I could have used the original plug wires. I mean, I've got them laying right here, long and short. I believe that short one would have fit right there, but I think it would look funny to have a little short one and also there's one long one hanging down. So I forgot, these were some plug wires I had on the FXR. And I bought green wires. Let's see if I can get over there. I bought, if you can just see it right there, I bought green plug wires to put on it just to match the paint, just to be cool, whatever. So I forgot I had these up at the top of my box. So I got those out and put them on, and they work fine. They'll work until I get another pair, just, black or something. The oranges don't really like it on this bike. But I'll just get some black ones, or maybe I'll just get some wire and make my own. I've done that before with cars and trucks. But it really works well. The bike cranks right up. I haven't tried to kick it yet. This ignition is set from the factory at 0 revs. So as soon as you kick it through, it has spark. The original ignition on this was a dual fire. I'm sure it was a stock coil, or a stock ignition. So I don't know if because this had a kickstart on it, if Harley had their ignition set to 0 revs. I don't know. But I do know that the Dyna ignition that I took off of the chopper at my father-in-law's house, I got to get it back together so I can sell it. You can run it single or dual fire, but it's still set to where it would take 3 revolutions before the motor fired. And so I sent it off to a fella. I thought I was going to keep it on this one, but I sent it to a fella. He only charged me $10, but he had the program to reset it to 0 revs to make it easier to kick. And I tried to kick it a few times, and I think it was just the timing needed to be retarded just a little bit to make it easy to start. But I'm so happy to have it running. I was just riding the piss out of it. I didn't worry about it. So now that this is the ignition that's going to be on this bike, I'm going to try to dial it in. I'll try to kick it later on, just as, if once I get it down, I'll try to kick it a few times and see how easy it is. If it doesn't work, I'll just retard the ignition just a little bit. When you do that, it makes it a little easier to start. You just got to be careful, because if you retard it too much, then you'll start getting popping and backfiring when you jump on the throttle. And this isn't going to be a hot rod. Even when I rebuild it, I might punch it out a little bit bigger at 74 cubic inches. I might punch it out a little bit, change the camshaft. I'm thinking about dual plug heads, something just to make it a little more efficient, and maybe a little more performance out of it, but nothing like what I would do with the FXR or even my Road King. Both of those have aftermarket cams in them, and they both get up and go plenty fast enough for me. There are faster bikes out there, guys running nitrous and turbos and all that shit, but I've even seen a few Evo powered Sportsters with blowers on them. The blower sits sideways on the intake side of the bike. And Trask makes turbochargers, and I've seen them pushing 300 horsepower. And how much do you need? How much power do you need at one wheel? Bone stop, a motorcycle's got plenty of power to get you in trouble. And I've never been one to worry about saying my pecker's bigger than yours because I have more horsepower. I don't understand. The FXR, I couldn't even tell you the horsepower. After the work that was done to it, the camshaft, the head work, the port and polishing on the heads and the intake, it's more than stock, but I don't have a clue, and I don't really care. It runs good. That's all I care about. So, you know, guys that start throwing around numbers from their tuners, it's just a number. It doesn't mean anything. You know, you can have all the horsepower in the world, but if you can't ride the bike, then the horsepower doesn't mean squat. So I got a little dirty the other day when I rode one. These are the shocks that were on the FXR, and these are 10.5-inch shocks. The struts that came on this bike when I bought it were 10-inch, and man, it put that fender even lower than where it is now. It looked so good, but there was no way my back was going to be able to take basically riding a hardtail. So one day I was in the house and I was thinking, you know, looking around at shocks and stuff like that, and I thought, the shocks on the FXR are 10.5. I said, I wonder if they'll fit. So I took them off the FXR, put them on here, and I had to turn the adjuster to the highest setting so it stiffened the spring up the most. And it rides surprisingly well for 10.5-inch shocks. Now, when I first put them on, I backed the bike down, and when I sat on it, I heard something. Well, right here on the chain guard, there was a cutout right here for your fender to go down the normal movement. But since I had put lowered shocks and then I sit on it, the fender came down more and hit this cutout part here when it was up here. So just to get the bike down the road with the shocks, I just took this chain guard off, and you can see it slung oil. I mean, everywhere. And then I got home, I took the chain guard and just took it to a angle grinder and measured it back how far I wanted to go and just cut it out. I don't give a shit what it looks like. This is going to be pretty much a wrap bike anyway. But now that it's back on here, I can clean this up. But it's still, you know, it's still slinging oil because it leaks so much. But I'm going to buy these shocks in chrome so I can put these back on the FXR. And then the shocks that are on the FXR actually came on this one. I'll just put them off to the side somewhere. But these work better than I thought. They don't look as good as the other shocks that came on the bike. These are the you can see those are the they're covered. They have the covers on them, top to bottom, so it just has that old look to it. And these don't quite, you know, look like they fit on this bike. They're supposed to be on it, but I want the back end lowered because, you know, before the fender here was probably up here. I mean, you could almost see daylight through if you look down between the top of the tire and the bottom of the fender, and I couldn't stand that. This isn't as low as when it had these struts on it, these 10-inch struts. I mean, you can see if I line that bottom up with the bolt, you can see how much further down you have to come to get the top. So moving it up, lines up there, then the bottom's off. So it lowered the bike probably another 1/2 inch this way, but that'll be a little bit more of a drop than a 1/2 inch this way. But I didn't want to try to run the struts on it with my back. I 58 and I hurt my back years ago, so I wasn't even going to try that. So anyway, that's where I'm at right now. If you got any questions, put them out there, comments. The next thing I'm going to do to this is Monday when the kickstand part comes in. I've got my other stuff over here. I've got my new housing, the new spring, and then the stop there. So I've got those three things. The only thing I'm missing is the kickstand. Oh, I told you I scraped the, wait a minute, let me get turned around here. I don't know if you can tell right there, it's scraped up where it's hitting the ground, you know, because I'm this close to the ground now. So when the bike leans over, this comes down, and then if this shock works, you know, and the bike's gonna go down at an angle, it hits. And I can live with that. It's something I'm doing that I should have done a long time ago, you know, the cool look, lowered it down and all that. If I was younger, I would run the struts or maybe even buy an old rigid frame and put all this in it. But I waited too late in my time to get my Shovelhead, my old bike, that now at 58, I'm not riding a hardtail. So these will bottom out on a good bump, but they're surprisingly more comfortable than you would think, at being only 10.5 inches long. I think the stock shocks on this bike were 11.5, maybe 11.5. I think I measured them one day, but I think they're like an inch to a half an inch longer than these. But with them being 10.5 inches long, it rides better than I thought. But anyway, it was going to be a quick video to show what I had done so far. Monday I'll put my new kickstand on, and then I'll start riding the piss out of this again. I still need to get a new speedometer, because this one is broken. The odometer works, so I use that from my fuel. Oh, and I bought new gas caps, but the problem is I bought the bayonet style. I didn't pay attention. I just put my bike in the search function at J&P, and it says this will fit, this will fit, this will fit. But these are the you know, screw-on type, so they literally have threads. Now this was the problem I think I talked to you about. The bike was shutting off on me after I fixed the breaker. It was just acting like it was starving for fuel. The first couple times I thought I'm running out of gas, but what it ended up being is, you know, these are probably the original caps, and the vent system on them didn't work anymore. So I was creating a vacuum in the tank after running for a while, and it was starving for fuel. So this is a total redneck way to do it, but I drilled a hole in the cap that goes all the way through and comes out there. So I ain't got to worry about it anymore. It vents great, but I don't like that, you know, it's like that. So I bought new caps. Now I got to send those back. Those are the wrong ones. So new gas caps, new kickstand, and then after that it'll just be, you know, changing oil, keeping the tires aired up, and riding the piss out of it, because I really like the sound of a Shovelhead with 1 3/4 inch 40-inch long drag pipes. Sounds great. So that's it for now. I'll make another video in maybe a little while after I put the kickstand on and start, you know, trying to kick it through and see if I can kick it. I did start it a couple times when it had the original ignition on it, and when I changed it out, the other ignition, I did get it kicked over a couple times, but sometimes it would just fire off. Other times I'd fight it and I just get tired, so I just use the electric starter. So, but I want to get it dialed in so I can do it if I want. So anyway, y'all take care. Got any questions, let me hear them, and we'll see you next time. Take it easy.